Yep, we've got the attendees now are all coming through.
Just give a quick minute just to get a few more attendees come in.
Yep. Yeah, looks like they're all coming through now.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
There we go. They're all seem to be popping in now, but yeah, another minute or two. And then hopefully everyone's got their lunch ready for Friday lunchtime.
Do you want to get started now, Shannon? Or
yeah, that sounds good. Let's get started.
Okay, welcome everyone. Good morning. Oh, sorry, good afternoon. It is afternoon already. Sorry. My name is Paul Cunningham. A lot of you probably have already met me, but if not, I'm an associate at Smart Business Solutions. I'll be your moderator today, so I'll be managing the webinar questions and overseeing the running of the webinar. Just for those of you who haven't used Zoom yet, just a couple of features that I wanted to point out. Just on the toolbar down the bottom, that you have a chat feature and a Q&A feature. Any questions, if you can please submit them into the Q&A, it just makes them that little bit easier to manage for us. I will try and answer some questions through the webinar. If not, I will hold them, and some I'll hold to the end so that we can discuss sort of as a group with Shannon. That's it from me. I'll introduce Shannon Smith, the founder and managing director of Smart Business Solutions. I'm sure most of you all know Shannon already, and with the work that we've been doing to help small businesses navigate through the times that we're currently experiencing. And now's a great time to sort of look at your businesses and look at your core values in your business, because some of us, I think it's just important at any time, but particularly now when we're all facing these problems, to make sure we've got our core values right. So I'll hand over to Shannon. Thank you.
Right. Okay, thanks very much, Paul. Welcome everyone today. I thought it was appropriate to do this type of webinar, given everything that has been going on lately, and I guess the feedback I've been getting from a lot of clients in relation to their team and how the team has reacted in these situations. A lot of clients have been very pleasantly surprised or quite happy with the way in which their team has really stepped up in these scenarios. I've had other situations where clients, and I even had emails coming through this morning, situations where, you know, clients the employees are refusing to work to get the job keeper because they think that they can get the money whether they work or not, so they choose not to work. My thought process on that is probably they're not the right employees for your business if you've got, you know, some of that type of attitude. So I think it's a really good timing to have a look at your core values and see, because it ultimately comes down into the core, I guess the core culture of the business that you are running. So I just thought I'd put this together. A lot of it's coming from also my experience in the way in which I operate with our team, and I've always been, even coming from my background of days at Ernst & Young, they were always very focused on the core values of the firm and how that and that really resonated with me, because I can see that coming through from a business perspective. Roy Disney, I love this quote that he did. He said, "It's not actually hard to make decisions when you know what your values are." And I nearly should have actually quoted my dad on this point, in a sense, because I know my dad runs his own building business. But whilst we've been, you know, throughout my years growing up, he always used to say to us, at the end of the day, you need to be able to sleep at night with every decision you make in business. And maybe something doesn't, you know, maybe it's not the greatest business outcome, but you can still sleep at night each night and be comfortable in knowing that you made the right decision that was basically aligned to your values and your beliefs. You're always going to be better off. And I've always looked at that. And when I've ever faced a difficult decision, I've often, you know, thought back to my core values, and then the answer has just come to me, and that difficult decision has actually not become so difficult because I've really looked at the core values. A lot of you probably saw our core values definitely have come out as a firm in the way in which we've reacted to the COVID-19 situation, and the way that we've tried to really, I guess, help out a lot of businesses with as much DIY as possible, in being able to not have to have clients having to pay extra fees at a time when I know they're going to be under pressure. So if I can help you DIY, and this has cost us a lot of time to put these materials together, but I think it's in the best interest and aligns well with our core values as well, to help clients through this period so we can all get through it together and you know, and being there. So that's something I think has been very well aligned. So what I wanted to go through today is probably really equip you as business owners to look at your own core values, or have a look at the core values within your business and your employees, and work out how can you really drill down on those. Because I know when someone says, well, what are your core values, prior to actually going through this process a number of years ago ourselves and really pinpointing it, it does make it hard. Sometimes it's not something off the top of your head. So I want to go through how would you go about it? What are your values in the planning hierarchy? How do you derive your values? What are your values versus your core values? Some of the benefits and uses of the core values, and then looking at the brainstorming of them, defining them, and then giving you some ideas of some next steps as well. So I'll be going through and relating this back to our situation. I've worked with quite a number of clients to help them actually work out their core values. And I'm a really strong believer that once you get your core values and your core baseline right, I've seen businesses really propel, where, you know, because they've been able to set the stage, I guess you could say, is that this is what's important for our business, and this is our core. So it is something that definitely is very close to my heart on it, and I'm absolutely convinced that it'll make a massive difference in a lot of businesses to help you really go forward. So I thought, look, I'll just go through the core values that we have at SMART, you know, and some of these may align close to what your core values are, or maybe a tweak, but one really looking at balance, and that's really placing individuals and family needs first, agility, collaboration, and also innovation. You've probably seen a lot of agility from us in the last few weeks, given everything that's gone on with COVID-19. Appreciation, and I have a huge value of how we appreciate and value all of our team members, and you know, the contributions that they're making, and even extending that out to the appreciation of, you know, the support we get from a lot of our clients. Walking the talk, we really practice what we preach, and that's really important. And also then I call it sustainability, only because sustainability is a bit of a buzzword, isn't it? But we look at the sustainability as being our recycling of knowledge, and being able to, as a firm, we have a lot of training. I know we do a lot more training than most firms. We train every Monday for an hour and a half. We have training at a flat level, and it's about everyone in the firm being skilled and trained up to all the various levels, to really ensure that if we maybe work on a project and we learn something from working on that project, we share it across everyone. So those are our core values at SMART that kind of underpin, and I guess it does really represent our highest priorities and beliefs as a firm, and really is probably the fundamental driving force into everything we do. And I know I went back to these as we were heading into this COVID-19 situation at the very beginning, and I said to the team, well, these are our core values. How are we going to help ourselves and get the appreciation ourselves, and how we're going to help clients to make sure that, you know, that it's all going to work together. So there's the team. This is our morning meetings now, so things have changed at the moment. But if I go back to now, how would you look at coming up with your core values, and how does that link in with your planning hierarchy? So when we look at it, we look at what moves us as an organisation, as a business, which is really looking at what our vision is. So the vision is basically saying, and often that the business plan also helps to give that vision. What is it that we're actually hoping to achieve as a business? What's our long-term vision? But the core values is going to be one of the most important components that really feeds into your business plan, because it's actually going to capture the heart and soul. Everything you do will lead back to your core values as a business and as an individual, because ultimately the business is there to, in a sense, to serve us. And actually, you know, I always go back to my 3 buckets with clients on 3 financial buckets. You've got your business or income earning bucket, you've got your living today and enjoying today, and you've got your tomorrow bucket, which is your, whether it's in super or outside of super investing. Your business is there to really help, in a sense, feed your life from a financial perspective, but also from a personal perspective. And that's why when I do look at goals and go through business planning with clients, I'm often asking, what are your personal goals? Because your personal and business, your business is going to help feed those personal goals. So having a look at those values, you're going to get the values, the core values are going to be a critical part of your actual business plan. It's going to kind of underpin it, because once you've got the values and you know what are your priorities, what makes you feel good as a business, what are your priorities, that's really going to make it easy for you to put your business plan out there so that you can achieve your ultimate goals from a personal perspective, whether they be financial goals, time value, etc. So I guess in looking at it, it's funny, with our values, we probably don't, it's probably a bit more unconscious, but we actually leave our fingerprint of our values on everything that we do. You know, sometimes you may have heard of people, oh, we're always marketing ourselves. Every time we go anywhere, we probably are unintentionally marketing ourselves. You might walk down the street, whoops, sorry, I have the phone still on. You might walk down the street, you know, and you've got some of your branding from your business, but you are indirectly marketing, and the way in which you act. I mean, a lot of us in business have probably come across people where you've felt good about dealing with those people because of the way their values are. So it is core values with the, it does demonstrate our core values with how our business is. So often you hear people talk about work culture. How many times have you been into a business or you're dealing with some of the employees? And I know I get this feedback from a lot of our clients that, you know, all of your team must love what they do. They're always happy, they're always helpful, they seem to really enjoy, and that's what you want to get back. And core values will link very closely to that, the work culture. I mean, I look at one of the big thing in our work culture from a behaviour perspective is I don't tolerate three-way conversation where, you know, one person talks to another person about a third person. If someone's got an issue with anyone, I say, look, go direct to them, explain it. I don't like these three-way conversations. And I think that's kind of one of my very much core values. I saw a lot of those problems at the bigger firms, and that's one thing I wanted to make sure that I didn't have in my business, because it can really erode. So it's really, it does form part of the, I guess, the DNA of the business. And I think what that does and helps is actually create a culture where everyone does want to help each other, and that they are putting the business's best interests, you know, to heart, and trying to achieve that for the overall business. Another really good quote that I found that I really wanted to share with you is from Gandhi's on, you know, your beliefs do become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits, and then your habits actually will become your values, because that's what you're constantly doing, and then your values will become your destiny, you know. And so it is all interlinked. And I have when we look at where your values come from, the tip of the iceberg, if I explain this to understand, to help you understand as to how can you actually, when you're looking at creating your core values, and probably many of us have worked in organizations at times where the work culture has not been great. And, you know, and they actually say it can take quite some time to change the culture within an organization. Well, why does it take a while to change the culture within an organization? If I look at, and this is quite a well-known, I guess, psychology around the core values, but I really like the simplicity of being able to explain it and understand that whilst you might come out and change your core values, now as an organisation, there may be some time for those core values to go up the chain. So when you look at an iceberg in the ocean, if you look at the iceberg in the ocean, you only see a small amount of the iceberg over the ocean. If this is the ocean line or the sea, what you don't see is everything else underneath. So above the surface is what we see visible. This is what we see to our clients, our suppliers, and our team members. But you've got all of this below the surface that can have a big impact, and it covers a big space. And it may not be directly seen, but it will ultimately filter its way up as you're going. So what we look up the top above the line, we say this above the line here is this action and behavior. This is what everyone sees. This is what how people within your organisation will be acting and behaving in relation to others. It's the below the line, which is where we're looking at the habits of people. So when I go back to what Gandhi had said then, is you're looking at your habits of just below the water surface. How easy is it to change a habit? Now, we all know, what do they say? Something like you have to practice something 21 times to stop a habit. You know, so it can take quite a bit to change a habit. When we go down from habits, we then have, well, below a habit, we've got to change a habit, we've got to change our thinking. So, and then to change our thinking, we've got to change our beliefs. Our beliefs come down to, you know, where we were from, how they're formed, and it can be quite difficult to change our beliefs because that also then comes down from our values, and then which then come from our identity. So when we're looking at our core values of an organisation, to try and change this on a personal level, obviously that is up to the independent person, but to really come and peel it back so that you come down to the bottom here and say, well, let me actually think what I want our clients and consumers to see us up here is going to be heavily dependent on our values of the organisation. And as an organisation, how we're going to, what do the employees within the organisation believe about our core values, and how can they start living into those core values so that what we actually see the organisation and the way they operate will be visible to our customers, our other team members, and all of our suppliers. So really looking at how do we get and be very clear on our core values. And I can tell you the core values, it's not one of those things that are quite easy. I mean, coming up with our core values took me quite a bit of time, because even when I was working through it and looking at the different values, I mean, to start off with, I wanted to come up with, you know, 10 literally core values of these are all the different areas that I value. But to really refine it down to kind of actually get to those key points is really, really quite difficult to do. So, I mean, a value, I put the kids up there. A value is an important and lasting belief or ideals about what is good or bad and desirable or undesirable. And if you think of kids, when you've got kids, you're constantly trying to, I guess, ingrain in them values in, you know, in society and in your family and how you want them to act. And I think that's the easiest way to look at the values of thinking it back to, as a child, how were you, you know, how are you acting with your children, and how was your upbringing as you went through. The core values are really going to be defined as the principle that guides an organisation's internal and external conduct. So, you know, and we've probably all worked at different times in toxic environments that may, you know, may not have felt comfortable when you're working in them. And so we've all worked in those types of situations. So how is it, what was it that you didn't like about that situation, and what was it that you would believe would be of benefit for your organisation to be able to make sure that you've got that strong value there. So some of the benefits and the use of the core values is really looking at, I look at the core values as really pretty much the glue that holds the organisation together, to be able to have that united company or business that's really working together well. I see it looking at some of the benefits of it would be, you know, improving your work culture, giving a framework for decision making. And, you know, we actually had you know, Paul we were on the call this morning when we had our morning meeting. We had, you know, a challenging thing coming up, you know, and trying to think, well, how do we react to this? How do we react to this? And really going through our values really helps coming up with a solution to some of the, you know, the problem solving that you might get at different times. It will help I think with your recruitment as well, and getting your team members on board. And I've seen that myself within my business, in being able to make sure that you're getting people that have those same values. I also see it on the side of the clients that we work with, and I do find we start to get a lot of our clients are very much, they do say like for like when you if you look at all your friends, and if you look at other social groups that you align yourself with, and other businesses that you work with, a lot of people like to associate with those that are like for like. And I do find, if I look at our client base, we also ourselves are attracting that like for like from those that are aligned with our values as well. And it also helps to have a bit of fun in difficult situations. So sometimes we have a bit of a muck around with how our values would deal with something. So you can have a bit of fun with it, but it all comes down to, if I look back to our values again, it all comes down to us respecting everyone within the team, but still also having that common goal. So that's where the link with your business plan. So if you are working with your team on it, I'd be looking at just getting a brainstorming with them, and you can even go through these slides in a sense with them to give them a framework of what you're trying to achieve, but give an opportunity for them to have a bit of a brainstorm session as to what they see are the values within the business and within what they're wanting from theirs. When you're looking at refining it down to no more than 5 core values, now I've done nearly 2 slides nearly identical, and I've done that for 2 different reasons, because I realize some people on this webinar will be, they are the business, you may not have any employees, so how do you want to get your values across? And then those that do have a team and wanting to get your team embraced in those values, because if they're part of the process of identifying those values, they're going to really, I guess, live into it and operate your business a bit more on like that. So if you are approaching it with your whole team, what I would be looking at doing is trying to work with them to capture, do a brainstorming session and say, well, what do they value and what do they see as a business that they value? Put them on post-it notes, group them together when they're like for like, and then start to classify them as important, very important, and vital. And it's those vital ones that you're really looking at getting, well, these are the absolute values that underpin everything that we do. If you're looking at it for yourself as a business owner, and saying, well, what, turn on, basically go through that same process, but in a sense, for yourself, and trying to work out, well, what is the most value, what's the most votes that you're getting? If you have got something in your team member, maybe look at some of the feedback that you might have also got from some of your customers or clients to see what they like about the service or what you're doing, and then try and get it down to about 5, so that you've got a situation where you've got all of those values kind of defined, and the values, remembering as the business owner, so this slide I guess is applicable whether you do have employees or not. As the business owner, it's not just about the team telling you how the values are, it's really got to be yourself also pushing on that as well, because ultimately it's your business, and those team members may not be all aligned to your core values. And I've seen that a few times where they've had quite a staff changeover as a result of understanding their values and getting those on board. I know I've got a client at the moment that's just been going through that over the last 6 months, and they probably got rid of half of their team. They had a team of 8. They probably got rid of half of their team of 8 over the last 6 months, and have been replacing those roles with, because what they found is the business started to go in a direction that wasn't consistent with how they had always run the business and the values and morals that they had always dealt with their clients and customers, and things were changing and not for the good, in a sense. And it's interesting, by getting the right people on board, changing their values, it's funny, we thought they'd be needing to get rid of a certain number of them, that we saw some traits in it wasn't consistent with the values that they wanted, but some people have come on board with this clarity of having these core values, but they've actually seen their business really do well out of this situation. So there is that opportunity on that side. So when you go through and you identify your core value, it's really, and not to over-engineer it, but really just, if I use one as an example, let's just say if you had a core value of pride. So one of your core values is pride, and say pride in what we do. An example of this could be ensuring that the work that you've completed for a customer is done to your best ability. So that's the pride part of it, and that results in customer satisfaction and retention. So having a value and being able to work out how does that actually get implemented and live. So you don't want to just have these notional 5 words up on your website that says these are your core values because it sounds good, if you know what I mean. This is what you're actually wanting to help your business in, making sure that this is not just a vision statement, mission statement, and 5 core values that no one within the organization knows or no one even looks at. So really try to work out, well, if we have a core value of pride, and the example is in making sure that everything we do is to the best of our ability. Why are we doing that? Because that's going to give customer satisfaction and then retention. So going through each of your values, and that's where I know from our own experience, I started to go through that, and then I actually went back to the drawing board again on the values, and we went through it again, because each of those values that we're doing is really going to be about how it defines our business going forward. So this might be a trigger that puts you back to the initial list of all your core values that you've got. Once you've kind of done that, you want to agree on the behavior. And if you go back to the iceberg that I talked about, so you had your identity, you're looking at your values, beliefs, the thinking and the habits, that's going to drive ultimately your behavior and what everyone sees. So I think when looking at that, then you want to agree as a team, okay, so if these are our values, what behavior are we going to do to live into those values? So what are we not going to do? What behavior would not be consistent with your values, so that it's really clear to all of you. And why you're doing that is you want what your consumer or client sees above the line, above the ocean. You want that to be reflective of your core values. And so I think when you go through this process, it's going to probably help you try and understand and make sure that you are doing the walking the talk as to what you said, what you said you were going to do. So that's kind of like going through, I guess, on the core values and giving it to you in a nutshell on it. I do have, if anyone's interested, I do have a document that I can share with you. I can put the link, when we put this webinar up on the website, I can put the link to a document which might help you walk through that process of, basically we've got it's kind of like a guide, cheat sheet to utilizing your best values. So trying to work out how is it that we can apply it, and how can we take it from being this, because sometimes when you see the vision statement, mission statement, values, there's a lot of businesses that have them and they actually don't use them or implement them. But I really do think there can be a lot of power in implementing them. So I will put that up as well and be able to give you that information. We can always help you with a workshop if you're not sure how to run that. So I've run that with a few clients, really to try and help dig down into those core values, and more to facilitate. I guess some of those clients felt it was easier to have a third person facilitating that process than themselves doing it. Then the other things that we're doing at the moment with clients, just to help complementary business continuity. If you've got any challenges at all and you just want to have a chat, we're not charging for that. Business continuity, just a quick chat to go through that, or a proactive accounting meeting. If you do need help at the moment, business planning, cash flow forecast, coaching, feel free to reach out. Happy to help. We've got a few more webinars like this. If you've got any topic suggestions, feel free to let us know. We've had a lot of people joining the webinars, and I think that I guess COVID-19 has made us all go live onto webinars, so it's probably been not a bad thing from that perspective. Next Friday we are going, so if you are using Xero, we are doing a Xero payroll refresher, a lot of tips and updates. I will then go through on a business planning on the 1st of May. All our prior webinars, we actually have been putting those up on our website. If you missed the JobKeeper yesterday, a lot of cheat sheets for you on that JobKeeper to help you walk through that process. And the week prior we did cash flow planning in a difficult time, so feel free to have a look at those. Save the date for 28th of October. We did have to postpone Byte as a result of COVID-19, but we have put it in for 28th of October. So I'm really hoping life's a bit back to normal by that time. It's hard to know at this stage. Yeah, open for any questions. If anyone's got any questions at all, if we don't have any questions coming in at all.
Oh, this stage, Shannon. So if anyone has got any questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A or the chat right now, and we can answer. Otherwise, I guess we'll let everyone go back and get back to work and get their work done.
Yeah, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Paul, or Daniel. We can all help you on this. And yeah, and I guess thanks everyone for